Let's start with soaking rice for the appams. So here I have taken 2 cups of parboiled rice, or it's also called as idli rice. So I have washed it thoroughly and then I have drained the water. So let me soak it. Now I'm going to soak this rice with coconut milk. Here I have taken 2 cups of coconut and extracted thick coconut milk. Keep aside the thin coconut milk for grinding. Let this soak for about 2 to 3 hours. The soaking is done. Now I will grind this rice to a fine paste. So I will use the same coconut milk to grind it, and also I have some thin coconut milk that is kept aside. So I will use both the coconut milk and grind this rice into a fine paste. Before I could grind the rice, I am going to show you how to prepare the yeast to add after the grinding is done. So this takes about 5 to 7 minutes depending upon the type of yeast and temperature around. So let me tell you a few things before I could start. So here I have taken lukewarm water. So this is very important because you should never take hot water or very cold water. So the yeast doesn't act. And secondly, I'm using a little bit of sugar. So here I've taken half tablespoon of sugar. The reason is the yeast feeds on sugar and the fermenting is faster. So these are the 2 points you have to take care before the fermentation. So let me start now. So first I'm going to add water. I will add the yeast and the sugar and give a good stir. See that the yeast is completely dissolved in water. So fermented yeast can be used in wines while preparing idli or any kind of fermenting recipes. So it's done. It's completely dissolved in water. Now one more important thing to make your fermenting more faster, I'm going to close the lid and keep some weight on that. Let me just check if the yeast is fermented. Yeah, perfect. You can see it has it's raised. Sometimes you cannot see this kind of changes in the yeast. As you dissolve the yeast, it remains the same. So this depends upon the type of yeast or the temperature around. So what I suggest is once you leave it for around 10 minutes, if you don't see any changes in the yeast, you can then directly add it to the batter. Don't wait for long. Now let me tell you the mixing of the batter. So I have some important tips to tell you. So please follow the entire video carefully. So the batter is ready. So I'm going to pour this in a vessel. See that there is enough gap for the batter to rise. So take a deep bottom vessel. Next, I'm going to add to this the fermented yeast. To this, I'm going to add 1 egg. So here, the egg white is very important. And the egg yolk, I am adding it, but it is optional. So you can ignore the egg yolk, but I am adding the entire egg. I will add salt. I've used 1.5 teaspoon of salt. Now I will mix the batter. I will use my hand to mix this so that I can gently whisk it, and whisking the batter is very important, so it creates aeration and helps the batter to rise. And once you get the right consistency, you get very soft appams. So whisking the batter after grinding is very important. I do this in all my preparations. This is a very traditional method, I can say. I had seen my grandmother doing this and also my mother, and now it's me. If you feel the batter is thick, you can use a little bit of water that is got after cleaning the mixie, and also if you have some leftover coconut milk, so you can also add that. But see that the consistency is not too thin nor too thick, so it should be medium one. Let me tell you how it should be. See, so it should be this consistency. You can also add more sugar to this. Now the mixing is done. I will grate some nutmeg. This gives a very good aroma to the appams. I love the aroma that you get while frying the appam. Once again, let me mix it. Now the batter is mixed. Now I will keep it for fermentation. So generally it will take about 4 to 5 hours to ferment, but sometimes as I said before, if the yeast, the quality of the yeast and also the temperature of the day is not favorable, so this is a no fail appam recipe. So do try it. Now I'm going to close this with a lid and keep for fermentation. So I've closed the lid. I also keep some weight on the lid so that it will ferment faster. There is one more thing. You can keep this vessel for sunlight. It's optional. So I'm just giving you some of the tips that I take while cooking. It's almost 3.5 hours now. Let me check if the batter is fermented. Wow, it's perfectly done. Now let's make the appams. Let me mix the batter once before I make appams. The pan is heated. Do not overheat the pan. You will not get a proper shape. I am adding ghee to grease the pan. I will pour 2 ladles full of batter. Pouring the batter. You can see the beautiful lace formed on the sides. Now close the lid. Beautiful appam ready.